Well, good morning, folks, or good afternoon, depends on what part of the country we're in. I say that because my guest today is from California. Yes,
Yes, Leslie from California, Southern California.
sounds good. So it's morning or afternoon, depending what part of the world that you're looking in. I like to thank our return clients or customers, our guests, for coming back. We do appreciate that. For those of you who are visiting us for the first time, thank you also for that. The purpose of this, for those are our first time visitors, is the challenge being, are you prepared to take a hot seat challenge for discovering an ingredient of your secret sauce? And the concept being is what makes you, not makes you, what is it about you that gives you a distinct advantage over your competition in your ideal market? And it's your karma, your flavor, call it whatever you want. Well, what we do in this program, I spend the first 20 minutes approximately asking my guests, in this instance, Leslie, what's your favorite pastime? And then it's not scripted, it's not rehearsed. And then in the last 10 minutes, we'll talk about her business and how it is in her passion, her interest, her favorite pastime provides a unique quality to her business for you, the consumer, to make a choice over the competition. So, thank you for joining us again. I'm going to ask Leslie, what's your favorite pastime?
Well, I don't have just one. I have many, but I'll start with this one.
Okay.
You can see me on the camera, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so one of the pastimes I cherish is embarking on journeys of exploration, like embracing the thrill of uncertainty and the prospect of just unexpected discoveries.
Right.
And the simple act of getting behind the wheel in my car, making that spontaneous turn onto an unfamiliar road, can really open the door to some really cool adventures, waiting to unfold at that particular moment. Nothing planned.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what you're going to find or who you'll meet along the way. And I do this often during the week after my workday, which kind of sort of sometimes wraps up, at least for a few hours in the afternoon. I have a chance to go out and run my errands and do stuff.
Right.
And I love doing that. And I just moved to a new community. So there's really a challenge there in finding all the new things that are out there. And it's just something that I do very frequently. And I could explore a new park or a museum or a store.
I hear that. And I'm going to ask you a question. Unless you grew up on a farm where people can start driving tractors at a very early age, I have to assume when you were 6 years old, you weren't driving your cars around to new parts of the country. So if you can go back that far, maybe not too far, I'm assuming,
Oh,
what would be a favorite pastime for you then in that ball time?
well, when I was 5 years old, my mother put me in ballet,
Okay.
and I was a little prima ballerina actually when I was very small,
Mm-hmm.
and it lasted for many years. And I even danced professionally when I was little with the New York City Ballet, the
Nice.
Nutcracker. I was a
Right.
munchkin just one time. But when I look back on that pastime, I did it until I was about, I think, 11. And then I told my mother, I said, okay, it's time to stop because,
Mm-hmm.
you're going into your teenager years and you're exploring new different things.
Right.
And it's challenging being a ballet dancer. There's a lot of discipline involved.
I would think so in any intense endeavor, including ballerinas dancing or ballet dancing. I'm not an aficionado of that program. Was it something that you understand why your mother nudged you in that direction to go into ballet?
Yes, I think she wanted me to get interested in something outside the school
Okay,
curriculum.
right.
As I got older, she figured I would stick with it uh, all throughout. And she, beside the physical aspect of it, training, and it's a healthy thing to do, of
Okay,
course, and
that
it
makes
surrounds you among like-minded individuals and parents that are interested in the arts. I grew up in New York City,
Okay.
so being involved in the arts was very prominent in my family.
Interesting.
Um,
Now, as a teenager, now that you have a little bit more say in your lifestyle, did you have a new
yes.
path of endeavor or a new
Um,
favorite pastime?
well, when I was in high school, I actually went to a high school in New York City, which was a profession. It was affiliated with a professional children's school. It
Okay.
was a private school,
Hmm.
and I lived, and the school was across the street from Juilliard, which was
Okay.
another school, and the Arts Center on the west side of New York City in the
Now, for
school.
those who aren't familiar with New York City environment or the arts, and I'm not, Juilliard is one of the preeminent professional. It's not what is art school, I guess, for lack of a
Art
better
school,
phrase.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Yes. So the school I went to was a smaller version of it. It was affiliated with the school. It
Hmm.
was a smaller private school.
Right.
Um, I didn't really have too much when I was in high school, an interest in the arts at that time. I sort of felt like I was outgrowing a lot of that
Right.
in high school and just concentrated more on my classes.
Okay. Now, when you after high school, did you have a favorite subject that with further education, I guess, that you got into, or
A business,
business?
yes.
Why business?
My family, my mother's sister was a businesswoman.
Right.
My father was a successful businessman.
Hmm.
And I found that they had very interesting careers.
Right.
And I decided to proceed, go into business courses.
Now, folks, for those who are new to me, again, I keep looking down. I take notes. This is my notepad because I don't keep track of stuff in my head at all. So if you see me scribbling and you hear the pen against the paper, that's what I'm doing. So you chose business because it was a family tradition in part, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Partially,
Hmm.
but I thought at the time when I was sort of researching what was going on in the world and where you needed to be educated, business seems to fit the slot very well. My father actually went to medical school and dropped out after a couple of years because he was just too squeamish, and then he changed and he
Right.
went into business. My aunt, who became a very successful businesswoman in the medical industry, started out as a nurse,
Hmm.
but she was like the chief nurse in heart surgeries. She
Okay.
had a medical degree, a medical background. She was a nurse, and then she went on to. I think she influenced me more than anybody else because she really traveled all around the world, patented medical products,
Hmm.
and worked for a company called Baxter International, which is a big medical pharmaceutical company, many
Okay.
years. She became an executive with them before she retired.
Okay. And so you did traveling with her at the time. Sometimes sometimes when she went abroad or across country, you would travel with her, you said?
No, no, but I would hear the stories of her
Ah,
traveling uh, all around, mostly the United States. She would go abroad on occasion,
okay.
but her work was mostly she got to a point in her career where she would travel uh, and lecture doctors
Hmm.
on uh, on the products that she was representing. And she actually patented one product, which was the original needle through the thread back in the day when they used to do surgeries with
Hmm.
sutures and things. She patented a product with the company
Nice.
and became a consultant.
Excuse
She
me.
had a very challenging career. It had a lot of impact on me because I would hear really interesting stories of her travels.
Okay. So the concept is at some point you get your driver's license. And I'm going to assume that you didn't say the first time you got in the car on your own, you say, I need to explore the world around me. Or was that how it happened? I need to go to different locations.
I think so. At the time when I first got my car, I was living in New York City, and probably the first things that I would do to get to drive to, when I would take the car, I would leave the city and go out to the beaches in Long Island.
Okay.
and just drive out there with friends, and explore, and whatever happens, happens.
I
You're
hear
in high
that. Now, for
school.
those again who are not used to New York metro environment, I don't know any. You're the only one I know that actually owned a car in New York City because they have so many subways and buses and whatnot, or they would walk. So the fact that you had a car in itself was unusual. And yes, I can understand the need to drive out to get to somewhere location. These trips you go out, would you sit down each week with your girlfriends and map out, or was it like test the wind and see which way it blows and go that direction?
It was more like just test the wind where it
Hmm.
blows. And then there were some times where I would just get in the car myself, and I needed to get out of the city and breathe and get into a different environment.
Right.
And I would just go.
And I get that concept. The when you did get, do you ever know when you're driving, did you set a time limit or did you say, I've arrived where I want to be? What was your endpoint on your outgoing environment? Or was
I
there one?
don't remember, to be honest, if I was I don't think I was setting a time limit.
Okay,
I usually would try to get back for dinner because my mom would be worried if I didn't come
fair,
home on time of some sorts.
fair.
These were day trips. They weren't evening trips. They were.
Okay. Now, when you do drive, is it all this? I'm trying to get a sense of it. Some people would just drive, stop, get out and walk. Some will take cameras, get out and take pictures. Some will drive and check the scenery. Did you have all of the above, any of the above, none of the above in your
All
approach?
of the above.
Okay.
I do like the taking images. If I see something,
Hmm.
um, I'll either get out of my car and take an image of where I'm going.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll be in the car and I can see an image from the road and take it out of my window. I've gotten some really nice photographs that way.
Okay. I think
Very
they call
spontaneous.
that drive-by shooting, right?
Yes.
Fair enough. Interesting. So the concept. Now, when you take images, what is it that grabs your interest? Are people, animals, scenes, sunsets, trees, butterflies? Did you have a flavor?
Well, it depends where I am.
Hmm.
Right now, I'm in a more I'm not in a city area
Okay.
of Southern California. So the sunsets are beautiful. The palm trees against the mountains are beautiful. The art around where I live, there's lots of art galleries, and it's just really beautiful.
Right.
I'll take those kinds of pictures. When I'm in the city, I would take pictures. Well, I used to live very close to the ocean, so I would take a lot of ocean photos, uh, photos of people in the streets,
Hmm.
kind of get a feel for the neighborhood type of images.
Okay. So it's a matter of Mother Nature. It's also a matter of people. But it sounds like you spend time in composition because you talk about things being beautiful, perhaps artful. So it wasn't a matter of taking a picture of somebody with their face and their feet in the picture, but you saw a design or a message, perhaps, and what you wanted to take, or something unique value.
Yes, the background behind the person is can be just as important as the person that you're taking the picture of.
Right.
It kind of creates an entire feel for the whole image, gives it more of an emotional experience.
I'm writing, folks. I'm a slow writer, so hang in there
That's
with me.
okay.
So let's do it this way. So, okay, since the day one of driving, pretty much exploring was part of your passion in terms of getting away. It wasn't, was it getting away from or getting to some? Was it a push away? For example, I know people get off work and they drive like heathens to get home, and all they do is fall asleep in front of the TV. So they're getting away from work. Others will get out and drive like heathens because they need to get someplace. Did you have a sliding scale one way or the other on that? Oh, we might be frozen a little bit. As folks, I did say this is a live performance, and sometimes we have camera glitches. I think we froze a little bit on each other. And what I was asking is that when you're going out to drive, it seemed as though you weren't so much getting away from the busy city as you were perhaps getting to someplace else. as opposed to the other way around?
Yes, I usually had a plan to go somewhere
Okay.
in particular, but in between that situation of finding where I was going, I would find other things before I got to my destination.
All right.
And that's what made it interesting.
I
Like,
hear that.
oh, I'd make a turn and say, I'm going to go check this out. Or
So what was more fun was the quest, the search, if I'm hearing you correctly. Yes.
yes. Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. What got you in the path to your current profession? How did that happen?
Well, when I first moved to California from New York, I wanted a few. I had quite a few positions. I started out in sales. I was in software sales,
Right.
and I worked for a couple of companies like that offered a company was accounting software, and it ended up not really being my forte. I'm not a numbers person per se. I bend a little bit more on the people and creative side.
Okay.
So I did that for a little bit for a substantial company that marketed accounting software to large law firms and medium-sized law firms. So I was an account executive there.
Okay.
And then I quit there and got another position with another software company that sold intellectual property management software to large law firms and Fortune 500 companies and some Fortune 100s, but well-known companies.
Okay.
So that was in sales, and I was very good at that job because I was able to communicate.
Sorry, folks. Again, we have another frozen section will come out shortly on that. One of the nice things about
A lot with. Yeah, we froze again, but I'm back.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you say you were able to communicate with the last phrase you made before you froze.
Yes, more interesting companies. For example, my first big close on that when I was working for that company is I closed eBay as a client. So it was almost a multi-million-dollar deal in a software that the company I was working for, and it was very challenging. It was a 6-month close.
Right.
There was a lot going on, but I got to learn a lot about the internet industry. I mean, we're going back, a long time ago. But I got to learn a lot about the internet industry and the inner workings of eBay, which was at the time in its heyday.
Right.
And it was very interesting. And I connected with a lot of top level tech people within the company. We would have meetings. It was very, very challenging, but it was such a great feeling because, it was like I was much younger then and I had closed probably one of the biggest sales of my life. But that's where I really learned a lot about technology and the inner workings of what was going on in e-commerce.
Okay. So are you still, so we're now to, so let's say your current position. So are you still focused on technology as a concept for your current business? What is it that you do now?
Well, currently I do a couple of different things. I have a couple of different businesses. But the main business that we would talk about today would be my AZ Publishers. I'm a content writer, copywriter, business writer, actually,
Right.
and digital marketer. So,
So how do you make the transition to sales to marketing? Is that
well, after I left the sales industry, I met my business partner after that. And we became business partners, and he started a couple of companies in software. So I ended up working with him for a long time, and we're still business partners as of today in other types of e-commerce businesses that are not affiliated directly with what I do now. So we partnered together and had these businesses in e-commerce, and I learned a lot from him about technology and e-commerce and marketing.
Right.
So, and then we kind of left each other for a couple of years, and I started writing because I always had a flair for writing. And I worked for a company it was a news company where they hired people like on a contract.
Mm-hmm.
And through them, I worked with CBS News Los Angeles, and I was a contributor
Mm-hmm.
for about a year and a half for the
Right.
Los Angeles local division of CBS News. And I
Okay.
wrote about business, a lot of current events that were going on in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
and business events. I was on assignment. They would give you a topic and they let you run with it, even sourcing your own images. I
Right.
interviewed some people for articles, for business articles.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, 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 very good experience. And from that point on, I liked doing it so much. I just said, I could write these things that I'm writing, for my own clients,
Fair.
and I started AZ Publishers.
Okay. So I'm not clear then, is the writing a marketing concept? Is a book, creating a book concept? I'm not quite sure. Publishers means a lot to me.
I focus only on business writing. I'm not a book writer. I can write ebooks and guides for people that want to have that type of content
Right.
for their marketing purposes. Ebooks, it could be any length of whatsoever, or guides, but I don't write novels or nonfiction.
Okay.
I mean fiction.
I hear that. So then is your writing showing up in magazines? Is it showing up on TV commercials? I'm still not clear what your niche is.
My niche is I primarily do business writing for e-commerce websites.
Excuse me, I don't know what business writing is. It's like a website when you say e-commerce.
Oh, business writing could be, let's say, a ebook for a company that sells software and they want to educate their clients on their practices, and they may want to include a case study about a client, and they may want to have that written up maybe within the ebook, or maybe do it separately.
Right.
They may need informational content on their website, like such as a blog. So I would get hired to write that content. And then there's email marketing. So I may get hired to write emails for a company that's has a marketing promotion for a product.
I hear that. And you say you have a flair for it. What is it? Well, you've shown success. So I think it kind of speaks for itself in terms of having a flair. I guess what I'm asking is, you said earlier you discovered you had a flair for writing, and I'm not sure it was a matter of appreciation for or the outcome. You get good results, therefore that's your flair, or you enjoy doing it and that's your flair, or a combination of. I'm not clear on that.
I would say it's a combination of both. I enjoy writing. I also enjoy editing and fixing other people's problems with content.
I'll be right with you, fixing. Well, I hear that. I need to do a commercial break. First off, for those who are listening to us, either now or after, we ask several things that we do provide in the description section on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, information about Leslie and also information about myself with links. So for those of you who want to learn more about her or myself, feel free to contact. Also, we would encourage you to make comment. We do audit the comments. We get back as best we can to everyone that comes across the board. Even if it's a bad comment or a question comment, please contact us. Remember to subscribe. Remember to share us with your friends. Remember to come back and visit. And by the way, if you'd like to take the hot seat challenge for yourself, please feel free to contact me. If you feel you want or need or intrigued by what Leslie has to offer, by all means, contact her. So what I'm going to talk about intriguing now, what I gather here, I'm going to start at the end of our dialogue and then work backwards, if you don't mind. Excuse me. That you began, certainly, actually, look at my notes now, that's why I'm looking down. You say you like traveling, you like to do journeys, unexpected adventures, discovery, all those words flash in my head. And I can hear that similarity in what you're doing now, that you go with the company. And one of the fun things you said is like, you like to interpret and develop content. And I added to that of value. Anybody can add content. They can translate what you're trying to say and put it on paper. But I think gives your skill and your value a different flavor is it's not enough to simply document or interpret the technical side to the business side, to the layperson side or the public side, that you want to expand on it. You tend, I suspect, you experiment, maybe you go different avenues of poking at stuff as you're doing your writing, and maybe you get feedback from your client. Is that how that works?
Yes, when I start a project, I usually will start it in about a little bit.
But we have freezing again, folks. And again, sorry for the
halfway
connection.
Through.
Yeah, but we're going back and forth. We're going to do this a little bit differently. So I said these are live performances. And I'm going to summarize what I note of Leslie and her dialogue. And at some point she'll come back online. That what makes, I'm summarizing now, Leslie, because we had some freezing. So what I'm going to do is to share what I consider part of your secret sauce ingredient. And the concept being anybody can stumble across somebody who says, I will do your web content for you, or I will do you advertising, a marketing piece for you. But what I see is a professional who's not satisfied with simply documenting, that you need to explore. It's not that you need to, it's who you are when I say need, as opposed to you need to do it for necessity. You enjoy what you do. You're extremely good at what you do in the technical side, but you have a right brain side of it also, that there's a quest for you. You talk about providing the emotional experience for yourself, and I suspect you do the same thing for your client. Am I far off on that?
No, that's 100% true.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
So when you have somebody who's looking as a business owner, looking for someone to represent your business in a quality that you feel is deserved, and you're tired of doing the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, or the Google search of 10,000 people that define the exact same skill. What I see in Leslie is a person that will go beyond to, well, what do you want to say? Or here's the content I've transcribed your business to a humanistic language. That I suspect you take the initiative and say, even, have you considered? Or here's something you might consider as an approach. And it's not because she's necessarily technically inclined to do that. It's who she is, the person. And I think that's part of her secret sauce, that she brings to the table a flair that her competition can't say they have also, despite any technical skill they might have. And on the left brain side, she walks her talk. She's done great things for huge companies in an unexpected manner, because again, she likes to explore. The quest for her is the challenge, the fun of it, to come out with something that we're all surprised by and impressed by. And it looks like she froze again, perhaps, on that. We get that technical aspect again. I'm going to ask again. We've got a few moments left, a minute and a half. Do you want to take us home with something in terms of dialogue or thought or content?
Sure. When you were saying a little bit before about how I approach a client, when they need a digital marketing project, I always give the client a full, we talk about their business. I go a little bit deeper than just doing the assignment. So I like to kind of develop a roadmap and a direction for where they're going. Right. So I can understand them and they can understand my approach. And then once we agree on that, then we move forward. Okay. I don't take any projects without doing that as a prerequisite.
Well, you're talking about the exploration side of the journey, that you're that person's in the car with you and you're going to explore who they are. Yes,
exactly. And my purpose too with any project is I like to write content that helps companies speed up the sales process, because that's what most people are looking for. They're providing a service or whatever they do, a product, And my writing focuses on helping businesses focus on a specific problem, and it gets ultra specific about who they help.
Okay.
And who they, it's a specialization in solving that one problem or a couple of problems for a specific person. And that's where you'll make a great, you'll be very successful with content if you really narrow down and focus that.
Nice phrase. So to say it a little bit differently and a little bit shorter, if all you want is simply document your business, do not call Leslie. She's not the person for you. But if you want to improve the value of your business, she's the go-to person, definitely. I want to thank everybody for being a part of this. It was fun. I enjoyed, Leslie, you being my guest. Thank you very much for that. And for the rest of you, goodbye and thanks for visiting, and please come back again. We're now doing twice a week. We're doing Mondays and Wednesdays because I'm not complaining. My booking has gotten to the point I've had to double up. And we get people like on the West Coast that are not going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for an 8 o'clock podcast. I can understand that totally. So keep that in mind and subscribe and get back in touch with Leslie also. So long, folks.
Thank you.